of my questions this week came anonymously via Tumblr, so let's get into them. The first question said, you've spoken so many times about how you hate people who constantly have their cameras and iPhones up in the air at concerts. What about people who just want to snap a picture or two? Honestly, I'm not the concert police, more like the concert courtesy police, as those bright screens drive me nuts at shows. I've said it so many times before, why bother watching the show through a 3-inch screen when it's right in front of you? Do you really have that bad a memory that you have to record the entire thing and then upload it to YouTube? That being said, if you're gonna snap a photo or two, you go right ahead, just don't use the flash. It's distracting and annoying to both the performer and the audience around you. And in most cases, not using a flash will actually result in a better picture for you. Take your photos, put the phone away, enjoy the show. It's that simple. The second question basically asked me what my favorite music films or music biopics were. This one's a bit tough because I'm that guy who gets annoyed when movies claim to be historically accurate but take way too much creative license. This is why I'd just as soon never again watch Walk the Line or Ray or that abomination that is The Doors ever again. As fictional tales, they're fine, but as historically accurate representations of the musicians they claim to depict, they're just about as useful as that glossy MTV travesty called What We Do Is Secret, which may very well be the biggest musical insult ever. On the flip side, there are definitely some phenomenal music documentaries out there, and I'm going to ignore releases that are strictly concert films, as well as films based on music like Purple Rain, because I think they're in entirely different categories. Thinking about it right now, the three that I'd suggest you see are The Decline of Western Civilization, We Jamicano, and The Future is Unwritten. The first is a 3-part series that's been going on since the 80s, and it basically discusses the evolving scenes in both punk rock and heavy metal, and it has some of the most stirring and raw interviews and stage performances that exist. Whether it's unsettling interviews with Ozzy or Lemmy, or amazing, hard-to-find performances from The Germs and Black Flag, this is a set of films all music fans need to know. The second one I mentioned, We Jamicano, is basically the story of the Minutemen, and it remains one of the most moving films I've ever seen. The depth of the interviews and the way that they frame the story makes this a great film regardless of the subject matter or the genre. Even if you're not into the Minutemen, which I don't understand, this is just a film you need to see if you're a fan of music. Finally, The Future is Unwritten, which is a documentary about the life of a man named Joe Strummer. Yes, I'm extremely biased on this one because he's my musical hero, but it doesn't mean it's not a great film. What I enjoy about this one is that it shows him in an unrelentingly honest light, and it makes no excuse for the time that he was really rude to people in his musical scene, people in his own band, and was at times, for lack of a better word, a complete jerk. There's great early footage, so many other musicians are there, and there's tons of amazing interviews, and come on, the guy's my musical hero. That has to count for something. More recently, I really enjoyed It Might Get Loud in Sound City, and I definitely recommend you check both of those out. The final question I got asked me how I buy a majority of my music today, and whether or not I still buy CDs. To be honest, I'm all over the place when it comes to getting my hands on new music. If I find myself in one of my favorite record shops, I always try and buy at least one thing, if for no other reason than to do my part to keep the doors open. And I do buy vinyl here and there if I dig the cover or I already know I like the music a lot. But most of the time, I just grab things off of the net, whether that's via iTunes, SoundCloud, or other digital distribution networks. Because with the amount of music that I barrel through on a weekly basis right now, I just need convenience. And being able to set a playlist of everything I have to listen to that I'm writing about or that I want to really dig into and decide if I'm going to talk about, it just simplifies it if I can have it all in one list. But when I do get to listen to music for pleasure, it's definitely still through CDs and vinyl almost exclusively. So those are my questions for this week. If you've got a music related question, go ahead and email it to me at thedailyguru@gmail.com. You can follow me on Twitter and Facebook right here, and I'll see you guys again tomorrow.